Welcome back, Bikeaholics. Ryan Erlacher here, lawabidingbiker.com. I always thank you for checking back in. In this video, we're going to show you how to drain and replace the front fork fluid on your Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Now, this segment of video was actually taken from our full detailed video on replacing your Harley front suspension and rebuilding your front forks, and I'll link to that free video in the description below. Okay, let's dive in and get our hands dirty, huh? So the first thing we're going to want to do is remove this inner fairing, and to do that we need to remove the ignition switch. So right underneath there where he's putting his index finger, there's a button. You want to push up on that button, and he's got his key in there, and we're in the fork lock position. Now with that button pushed up, he's going to turn his key counterclockwise, and you'll feel it release, and then just slowly lift your ignition. Do not turn your ignition at all while you're pulling this out. There's a spring he's going to have to grab too. If you do turn it, you can misalign your ignition, and if you do that and you have a problem and you do get it misaligned for whatever reason, we do have a video on this channel on how to fix that situation and realign your ignition. So I'll link to that in the description below. And just because you couldn't see it when he was taking it off, he's going to point to it. That's the little button on the very bottom that you're going to push up on. And now it's in the up position because it's stuck because the key is in it and we took it off. When we put it back on, we'll release it with the key and that'll snap back into position, but that's the button you want to feel for. All right, and with a 7/8 inch wrench, he's just removing the top nut there, or collar. If you don't have that big a wrench, it's no big deal. Just use some channel locks or something. Just be careful not to mar it. And then he just takes that off the top there, as you can see. All right, and then there's just another piece below it, and it can only go back on one way, so just pull that off there. All right, and finally, at the very bottom, there's another plastic collar there. It can only go back on one way, so slide that off of there. All right, and with a Torx 27, on the inside, both sides of that inner fairing is a little bolt you can see he's working on there. And he's just finishing backing that out, and we'll get to the other side and get that one. And Oscar just working on getting that other inner fairing bolt out there. All right, next we're going to remove this inner plastic piece that says fork lock, ignition, etc. You can kind of see he's just working around. You have to get his other hand in there and pop it. It just kind of snaps off. And once you get that, you can slide it up out of the way. All right, and with everything free, he can go ahead and remove this inner fairing. You can see he's just sliding it up and working it out there. And you see those little rubber grommets that fell there? Don't worry about that. We'll put those back in. So we're going to remove this inner fairing all the way so it's out of our way. There's just a plug there, and there's just a tab on the bottom he's going to push up on there, or push in on. And just pop that and out of our way. All right, and real quick, before you leave this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell icon. Every time those are hit, another biker joins the revolution. We would love to have you be part of it. So those fork cap nuts are kind of back up in there and they're tight. If you have a fork cap wrench, it's a specialty tool. We don't have one on hand today. You could certainly get up in there and have plenty of room to get those nuts off. We don't have one, so we're actually just going to remove the fuel tank, because all we have is a box and wrench. And so we'll get this tank out of our way. It's pretty easy. We'll show you how to do it here. That's a Torx T40. There's 2 bolts right on the back of this tank that he's going to be removing. And he's got both of those bolts removed off the back there. Okay, so we're just going to remove a few things so we can pull the tank off here in a minute. Just one plug there. Yours may be a little bit different if you have a 14 or newer. It will be different, but just look for the plugs that go up and run along the top of your tank, just a tab. Most of them are just tabs, and just kind of push them in there and pull. Then we've got 2 vent lines he's going to work. This one just dangles down on the bike. You just pull it out there. The other one you can disconnect right up here. Again, just a vent line. All right, now we've got everything disconnected. You may have to snip a few zip ties to release your wire harnesses there. All right, and with a Torx T40, he's gonna, and a ratchet there, he's just backing this bolt out. Again, one on both sides. That will free the front of this tank. And got the left side backed out there. We'll move around to the right side. Okay, so underneath the left side of your tank here is the fuel line and valve. He's gonna push up on the bottom part with his thumb there, and then with his other hand there, he's gonna pull up on that metal sleeve, and then he's pulling down on the black part at the same time. And you'll see, have a rag, because you do still lose just a little bit of fuel. All right, and with all that removed, he can go ahead. He's just going to lift on the back first and just kind of get underneath the front of it there. And you can just work it off the backbone there, and he'll set that aside. All right, just real quick, promise we'll get right back into your video. A ton of man hours, effort, and expenses go into helping as many bikers as we can worldwide. There's a way you can support us and get benefits. You can become a patron member. Link in the description below. You pledge a certain amount per piece of content. No risk to you because you can put a monthly cap. There are the benefits, like I say, t-shirt, stickers, the private Facebook group, you get access to that. It's a troll-free zone. Access to our live private video broadcasts and chat, up to access to our premium videos upon request, and you get access to ride events and meetups. All right, let's get back into your video. All right, and with this tank removed, we've got a 1 3/8 inch box end wrench, and he's going to go ahead and break this right fork cap nut. There you go. And again, it just makes it easy with the tank off to do that unless you have a fork cap wrench. And I will link to the fork cap wrench in the description below. All right, and he's just finishing with his fingers there, getting that fork cap nut off there on the right side. And we'll do the same to the left side. We're just lifting the bike up now with our trusty Titan lift that we love, tried and tested. If you're interested in getting hooked up with one of these and a mini jack to make these projects a lot easier, we do sell them right in the law-abiding biker store. I will link to it in the description below. We'd love to help you get hooked up with one. So Harley-Davidson, and all their infinite wisdom, decided to put a flimsy Phillips bolt for the drain plug at the bottom of these forks. It can be really tight, and it's easy to strip it out, of course. So all we've done is put together a screwdriver and found a socket that fit, so we can get extra torque, because you probably won't be able to do it with your hands. And then I got in there with Oscar and I held pressure into the Phillips bolt so that he wouldn't slip off, and at the same time he torqued it from his end, and we were able to get both of them broke. So that's an option to try to get them undone there. All right, so we're going to start with the right side here. We've got that, of course, that bolt broke, and he's going to back it out. He's got his little container there to start catching the fluid. And of course, the top fork cap nuts are off, so it'll help it breathe and drain quicker and easier. And of course, we'll drain the other side the same way. And he's just finishing up there, draining, and you can see about how much fluid you get out of one of those there. All right, and don't forget, before you put your fork cap nut back on, there's a rubber washer that comes in your rebuild kit. Make sure you seat that down inside the fork, and then you can go on with your fork cap nut, which is what he's doing. All right, so just finishing up a few things. We're just making sure the fork cap nuts are good and tight. They do have a torque spec. If you have a fork cap wrench, you could certainly get a ratchet on there and torque them down, but we're just going to get them fairly snug here with our box end wrench. All right, we're just going back on with the lower dash panel here. Don't forget to plug in your switches there, and you're just getting that lower dash back into place there. All right, and don't forget, on the lower part of that dash on both sides is just a bolt. You got it started, go back in with his T27 and tighten that down again, both sides. All right, just putting his little plate back over that's marked ignition accessory, and it just snaps into place. Okay, we're putting the ignition back together, and this all goes only one way it can go there. So first plastic collar there. All right, now he's putting the metal collar on. There's two tabs, one thicker one thinner one, and they correspond with the channels in there. And then we'll just put the top nut on there, get it threaded on. All right, and with a 7/8 wrench, he's just barely snugging that on there. All right, and so now he's just putting the ignition on it, getting the keys in it. It's in the fork lock position. He's just going to feel for the channel in there, trying not to turn it. There it goes, and all the way down. And he's going to push it in, and then he's going to turn his key. And you heard it snap. That's that little tab snapping. So now he can pull the key out, and that ignition is back in place. And he can turn it back into the 12 o'clock position. And there we go. All right, and he's just lining the front tank bolts up there. And the best thing to do is just start both sides. Basically finger start them, keep them loose. And then we'll start the rear bolts before you tighten anything down. That way it's easier as you try to line the rest of the holes up. All right, just getting both rear bolts on the tank here lined up, and this is why we didn't tighten the front down yet. Gives you some room to wiggle here. And got the other side finger started there. Now you can go ahead and tighten these rear ones all the way down and then go up and tighten the front ones down. All right, and Oscar's just finishing up there, tightening the front tank bolts. All right, and don't forget to plug your fuel line back in. Just pull up on the sleeve, push the bottom portion in there till it clicks and snaps. All right, and don't forget to run your one vent line. It literally just runs down the right side of your bike and dangles. And don't forget to clean up anything else you unplugged there. He's just snapping stuff back together. That's the other vent line there. And he's got his other plug there. Only goes one way. And just finally that larger plug. There we go.